I am alive. All right, I'm going to share that this is going on Twitter. BRB. Anyone who comes in? Where's my Twitter? There it is. Twitter. Okay, I've shared it. Let them come. Stopped and got me a big drink because it was a lot of reading last time. I came prepared. Yes, baby. Yes, we hear you. We do. We all hear you. Okay. So, hopefully someone shows up. If not, that's fine. I'm going to start with a recap from last month's box. So, basically, we got in contact with the current owner of the Cadence Theater, and they found a body in a trunk. And it turned out that the body belonged to Viola Vein, who went missing in like 1936, I think, if I remember correctly. And she had wounds on her arm, like she tried to stop whatever was happening, and then she had blunt trauma to the head. And then they stuffed her into a trunk, basically. And the head wound, when it was examined by, a doctory type person, whatever, autopsy, I don't know. They found a tiny jewel was embedded in her skull, and it turned out that the murder weapon was a cane, and like the jewel perfectly fit the cane, which is why you have to read everything, because like there was two different jeweled items and they had different shapes for the jewels, and that's like how we figured out what the murder weapon was. Viola Vein was an actress, and she disappeared the night before opening night on a new play. And the cast of characters so far, we have Hector, who was her fiance, and then we have Ira, who was the director of the plays at the theater. And there was like a bit of tension between her and Ira. He was like favoring another actress, Evelyn, who also was like a star. And like I didn't notice this, but in the first box on the playbill, the play that was for, actually there was a stamp on there that said after like a certain date, Evelyn was going to be playing Viola's part. So the tension, like it was mentioned before the play that like she like died on, was already building in the play before that, basically. So like that's interesting. Let's keep that in mind. And also the there was an Olga mentioned, but Olga happened to be the owner of the murder weapon. Bug is licking my pants. Sorry. And Olga, as it turns out, is actually Viola Vein's mother. And she sort of seemed like there was a lot of catering to her will on set from what we were getting from the notes and stuff. So I'm going to say we have like a stage mom kind of scenario going, maybe. So that'll be interesting. Now, there was cufflinks found underneath the trunk in the floorboards, but the police dismissed it as evidence because it had been 80 years. That could have came off of anyone, blah, blah, blah. But since she got hit in the head so hard that a jewel got lodged into her skull, I would say that it is more likely that a male was her attacker, not a female. Interesting that they used her mother's cane, though. I don't know. Just stating the facts. Also, I find it funny that there was a body in the trunk for 80 years and nobody smelled anything. Like, that's just still a point of contention for me. Like, how did no one smell it? How? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to get started on this month's box, and we'll see what we're trying to figure out, because that's kind of the theme. Like, every box, you like figure out a different part of the mystery. So I don't know what we're figuring out, but we're going to figure it out. I have a cool little pen, again. It's sort of a like skull with dirt and a worm coming out of the eye. Beautiful. Now, this is supposed to contain 9 items. Ooh, there's a coded letter in here. That'll be exciting. Now then, I'm going to open up our big old packet here. There's something in here too. Interesting. I'm going to set this box to the side. I need to figure out like a better place to do these lives at. That might be good. Okay. Oh, we have a kerchief. That's what's in here. And another pen. Ooh, Cadence Theater pen. That's cool. Okay. So, let's read the note from Julia. That is the owner of the Cadence Theater, who is having us do this investigation. Hello again. So I told my friend on the force what you figured out, and the lab did find traces of blood on the ruby-studded cane that was in the attic. It's pretty incredible that you managed to work that out. I'm sending a Cadence pin as a little thank you for all your hard work so far. Ma'am, send me a paycheck. What? To show you that I appreciate you despite what I'm about to say. Oh, I don't like that. As impressive as your progress has been, it doesn't actually bring us any closer to determining the identity of Viola's killer. As far as the police are concerned, they knew when they found the body that this was a murder, and the fact that Viola's mother owned a similar cane doesn't mean she was necessarily a murderer. I agree with that. I think it was a man. So it really could have been anyone, and they still don't feel like there are any significant leads, which is frustrating, because I was really hoping this would finally get them to take a serious interest in the case again. I need to get this resolved quickly, now more than ever. I received a letter from the board today informing me that we're planning to sell the theater. Oh, snap. I'm not even surprised, honestly. The board has always hated how I run things. If it were up to them, I'd be staging the same jukebox musical for the next 10 years. But the truth is, despite my best efforts, the Cadence has been struggling for a while, and it's only gotten worse since I found Viola's body. Just when I thought the media frenzy was finally dying down, someone leaked the news about the murder weapon, and the ticket sales took another nosedive. We've had to cancel a bunch of events, too, because, as you can imagine, people don't want to host improv night at a crime scene. It was bad enough when I thought I might have to let a couple of employees go, but we'll all be out of work if the board sells the theater. I can't let them do this. The board is supposed to lead the Cadence through hard times, not destroy everything we've worked for generations to preserve. Not that I have any idea how to stop them. They have the votes to push this through. I can't afford to buy them out. But I have to find some way to fix this. I owe it to my dad and to my grandparents, and to everyone who has ever sat in the glow of these footlights and seen what a special place the Cadence is. I know I'm biased, but I can't be the one to let that legacy down. For now, I've got to focus on the things I can control, like trying to solve Viola's murder. The good news is I found a lot of stuff to send you. You wouldn't believe the kinds of things my grandparents saved. It looks like Ira hoarded all the theater's business correspondence, and Evelyn collected copies of scripts and programs and tickets and posters for every single production ever staged there. I guess people were just more meticulous record keepers back in the day. Our grandfather inherited all of George Erickson's papers when he bought the Cadence too, and they're just as detailed. Who keeps decades worth of receipts anymore? By the looks of it, George may have been doing some, shall we say, creative bookkeeping. Now Not that I'm complaining, because it works out great for us. In one of their boxes of junk, I found a copy of Viola's original missing persons report from 1934. 1934, not 36. My bad. Or part of it, anyway. I still can't believe how slapdash the investigation into Viola's disappearance was at the time. I know the standards for police work were different back then, but if they didn't suspect that Viola might have been murdered, what else did they miss? Not that the police working on the case now are exactly filling me with confidence either. You'd think handing them the murder weapon on a silver platter would help make them actual progress on this case. Oh my Lanta. But apparently not. If there's any hope of finding justice for Viola, I'm afraid it's down to you and me. If the police want definitive leads, that's what we'll give them. I've been wondering what Michelle would do next if she were handling this case. And I feel like the best way to move forward is to see if there's a suspect we can definitely rule out. I'm really hoping you'll say one of my grandparents is innocent this time around. Ideally, you'll be able to clear both of them before too long, because it would be great to know that the theater I'm trying to save wasn't, run by murderers. But at this point, I guess I should be suspicious of anyone unless proven otherwise. Speaking of which, Michelle said I should switch up the login for my case folder regularly to keep things secure. And God knows I don't want the board snooping around. I can't change the login credentials she created for you to access the virtual desktop. So that password is still Porter, but the new password for our Cadence case folder is Louvre. When you figure out who's in the clear, send me a message through the email shortcut on the virtual desktop. Make your subject line clue this time, and put the full name of the person you think is innocent in the body of your message. Send me some good news, would you? I could use it. Okay, so what we are trying to figure out then is who we can definitely rule out as the murderer. Dope. Okay, so the very first thing we have is the police report of, I'm guessing, her missing person thing, maybe? Okay. So this was filed on November 7th, 1934. Memo for commanding officers. Subject, Victoria Gaina reported missing. Victoria Gaina was Viola Vein's actual name. Viola Vein was her stage name. We figured that out. On the morning of November 7th, 1934, Mrs. Olga Gaina, her mom, 49, of Manhattan, returned to her residence at the Criterion Arms to find that her daughter Victoria Gaina, 23, of Manhattan, alias Viola Vein, was not at home. After telephoning several acquaintances to see if they had heard from her, at 10:45 a.m., Mrs. Gaina notified the local patrolman, Officer Macaulay, that her daughter was missing. Officer Macaulay, in turn, alerted this office. Upon arriving at Mrs. Gaina's apartment, Detective Shannon joined Officer Macaulay in a search of the premises and found no evidence of Miss Gaina had returned the previous night. Her bed had not been slept in, and according to her mother, no personal effects belonging to Miss Gaina were missing from her room. Mrs. Gaina was evidently distressed. When asked to explain what had occurred, she burst into hysterical tears, repeating, "I can't believe this is happening again." What? Okay. When asked to expand on this statement, she explained that her daughter had only recently returned from an extended rest cure, during which the two women did not speak for 4 months. Interesting. So not a good relationship with her mother. However, Mrs. Gaina stated that she and her daughter had reconciled in September and that they had been living together since her daughter's return. Despite her adamant insistence that her daughter had met with foul play, Mrs. Gaina was consistently not cooperative. She informed Detective Shannon that she last saw her daughter yesterday evening at the Cadence Theater, where Miss Gaina is employed as an actress. Mrs. Gaina stated that she arrived sometime after 5:00 p.m., and she and her daughter argued, though she would say only that the subject of their disagreement was a family matter. Mrs. Gaina then left the theater. She declined to discuss her movements that night, stating only that she was out and did not return to her home until shortly after 10 this morning. So why did she stay out all night? That's interesting. She grew belligerent, then pressed for details, insisting that my affairs are nobody's business but mine. That's suspicious. I'm just saying. Mrs. Gaina's insistence, Detective Shannon has arranged interviews with Miss Gaina's colleagues at the Cadence Theater for tomorrow afternoon. Detective Shannon has advised Mrs. Gaina to contact this office in the likely event that her daughter returns home. The doorman on duty at the Criterion Arms, Mr. Louis Almore of Brooklyn, stated he had not seen Miss Gaina this morning, but confirmed Mrs. Gaina's claim that she returned at 10:10 a.m. Case active pending further investigation. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Okay, so these are the interviews then. Memo for commanding officer, subject Victoria Gaina, missing persons investigation report. Report on interviews conducted by Detective Shannon at the Cadence Theater, November 8th, 1934, 2:30 p.m. Interviews with all cast members and theater employees present on the afternoon of November 6th were organized with the assistance of George Erickson, proprietor. So that would be the current owner's grandfather, just so we're all keeping up. Mr. George Erickson, why am I having trouble with that? 56 of Manhattan, stated that select cast and crew were assembled for a preliminary rehearsal of a new stage production entitled You Can Leave It Right Here on the afternoon of November 6th. He said that in the midst of rehearsal, his wife, Mrs. Ruth Erickson, arrived at the theater, said he spoke with his wife for 10 to 15 minutes about some trivial matters, and the rehearsal resumed at 5 o'clock p.m. Sometime after they had settled back into the read-through, he claimed Mrs. Gaina burst onto the stage and tried to accost her daughter with her walking stick, adding, I couldn't understand what she was saying, but I didn't have to speak the language to know that whatever it was vile. The attempted assault was broken up, and Mrs. Gaina was escorted from the building, after which Miss Gaina retired to her dressing room. Mr. Erickson said that following this disruption, everyone was too distressed to continue rehearsing. So he dismissed the cast for the night. Mr. Erickson stated that, as he recalled, his stage manager, Mr. Joseph Sampson, expressed the intention to go purchase flowers for Miss Gaina, to cheer her up, I suppose. He said that for his part, he spent some time reviewing the theater's accounts, and that later on, as he was preparing to close up for the night, he observed Miss Evelyn Kittredge, an actress in the production, leaving Miss Gaina's dressing room. He noted that she appeared to be in some distress and left in quite a hurry. He also remarked that as far as he knew, Mr. Sampson had not returned by the time he left the theater, a little after 6:15 p.m. He stated he has not seen Miss Gaina in the days since. Interesting. Miss Evelyn Kittredge, 21, of Brooklyn, stated that she was observing rehearsal in her capacity as Miss Gaina's understudy when Miss Gaina's mother arrived and began yelling at her daughter. Miss Kittredge stated she was unsure of the reason for Mrs. Gaina's anger, stating that most of what she said was in Romanian. She confirmed that after Mrs. Gaina was removed from the premises by Mr. Sampson, she conferred briefly with her castmates and then went to check on Miss Gaina no later than 5:30 p.m. She brought with her Miss Gaina's belongings, which she had been left on stage in the confusion, including Miss Gaina's coat and purse, and her mother's walking stick. That's the murder weapon. She stated that Miss Gaina was terribly overwrought. When she reached the dressing room, weeping and saying desperate things, she claimed she attempted to calm Miss Gaina down, but that she wouldn't listen to reason. Miss Kittredge admitted that she grew incensed, saying Viola was acting as if the rest of us don't have problems too. Ugh. Yes, Aaron, yeah. This is the second box in the series. And where was I? Okay, Miss Kittredge stated she has left perhaps a quarter of an hour because she had a dinner engagement. She added that a few minutes later she was on her way out of the theater. She heard raised voices coming from the direction of Miss Gaina's dressing room. She could not say definitively whether the voices were male or female. She stated she suspected Mrs. Gaina might have regained entry to the building and did not wish to interrupt for fear of making the tension between mother and daughter even worse. She then caught a taxi to a dinner engagement where she arrived several minutes after 6 o'clock p.m. She expressed serious concern regarding Miss Gaina's state of mind, stating she had been worried about her for some time and feared she might do something foolish. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Do you want to join, Aaron? I have the link. Let me. Okay. We're trying to figure out who definitely can be ruled out as the murderer. That's what this box is about. And I need a drink because this is a lot of reading. My lord. Okay. Continuing on. Mr. Hector Rowland, 36, that's her fiance, of Manhattan and New Canaan, Connecticut, confirmed that he was indeed previously engaged to be married to Miss Gaina, but that, as anyone who reads the papers should know, she ended their relationship earlier this year. Okay, so that they weren't engaged when this happened. Interesting. Though he insisted that they have maintained a friendly working relationship. He stated that he was present for rehearsal and that they had just resumed reading the script when Mrs. Gaina appeared and began shouting at her daughter and assaulting her. He said that Mrs. Gaina could be quite hard on her daughter and that he had on more than one occasion seen her exhibit violent tendencies toward Miss Gaina. He stated that the argument could only have lasted a few minutes before he and Mr. Sampson pulled Mrs. Gaina away from her daughter and that Mr. Sampson removed Mrs. Gaina from the building. He stated that Mr. Erickson then ended rehearsal a few minutes early due to the disruption. After this, Mr. Rowland departed for an event across town. He said that when he left around 5:30 p.m., he observed that Mrs. Gaina was still outside the theater, banging on the door, demanding to be let back inside. He stated confidently that he believed her to be intoxicated. He left by way of a side exit to avoid meeting her and arrived at his event promptly at 6 o'clock p.m. Nothing like dodging your ex-future mother-in-law. Mr. Joseph Sampson, 36, this is a stagehand, confirmed that Mrs. Gaina interrupted rehearsal at 5:13 p.m., making a hell of a scene and damn near killing Viola right in front of all of us. He was confident of the precise time because I made a note of it, and it's my job to pay attention to all the details nobody else cares to notice. He stated that before Mrs. Gaina had the chance to hit her daughter with her cane, he took the cane away from her with the help of Mr. Rowland, then threw her out onto the street. He then decided to purchase flowers for Miss Gaina in order to improve her low spirits. Mr. Erickson recommended him to a florist shop of which Miss Gaina was fond. Mr. Sampson claimed he left no more than 10 minutes after the fight, and the trip took him longer than he anticipated, slightly over an hour in total, due in part to a misunderstanding regarding his order. When he returned, just before 6:30 p.m., he found that the others had already departed, and he was, as far as he could tell, the only person in the building. Interesting. He stated repeatedly that Miss Gaina's dressing room was empty and that her personal effects, including her costume trunk in which she usually kept her theatrical supplies, was gone. So she was already killed and stuffed into the trunk at this point. And now my dog's going to bark. Love that for us. He remarked on the absence of the trunk because there was no reason for her to take it unless she was planning to leave for a long time. But she didn't leave, buddy. She was in the attic for 80 years. No one noticed. Wah, wah. Sorry. Too soon? I don't know. Mr. Ira Adler, 29, of Manhattan. This is the director who was also kind of hooking up with Evelyn and was favoring her over Viola. Just so we're all back in it, okay? Mr. Ira Adler, 29, of Manhattan, confirmed that he was present in the theater the night of November 6th, but stated that he did not witness the altercation between Mrs. Gaina and her daughter. He said that Mr. Erickson's wife showed up wanting to talk to her husband for a while before 5 o'clock p.m., and that Mr. Erickson called for a brief recess. While the group was on break, Mr. Adler went into Mr. Erickson's office to make a telephone call. He claims that he was on the line with a clerk at the Excelsior Hotel for over an hour, as they had bungled my dinner reservation and refused to make it right. He stated he was on the telephone from just before 5 o'clock p.m. to nearly 6:15 p.m., although he added that it damn well felt like a lifetime. Who's on the phone for an hour and 15 minutes over a messed up dinner reservation? It doesn't take that long to fix that. That seems a little suspicious. I'm just saying. When asked why, as the director of the production, he did not return to rehearsal for over an hour for a dinner reservation, that's a good point. He said, I wasn't about to let some fool's clerical error ruin my future happiness. Bro, it's dinner. Like, what? Besides, I thought they could handle themselves without me for a moment. I had no idea it would take so long. He added that he was not aware Mrs. Gaina had attacked her daughter on stage until someone from the cast informed him of the incident later that evening, but he did note that a few minutes before 6 o'clock p.m. he heard some sort of scuffle or row from one of the dressing rooms, and that shortly afterward he heard the service elevator running, which he said he recalled because it's quite loud and is not ordinarily operated during rehearsal. He stated that he left the theater promptly after getting off the phone, since I was already late for my own reservation thanks to their incompetence. What? Okay, so whoever killed her stuffed her in a trunk, which was apparently kept in her dressing room, and then they used the service elevator to take it up to the prop room. And this dude was on the phone over a dinner reservation the entire time she was being murdered and her body was being hidden. What? I'm just, that seems a little suspicious to me. It might be the director. I don't know. Like, who's on the phone for an hour and a half over a freaking dinner reservation? Just cancel the reservation and go somewhere else. Is it just me? I don't know. It's a different time, I guess. I don't know. Further interviews will be necessary. Mrs. Ruth Erickson, 39 of Manhattan, was not available for comment. All persons of interest excepting Mrs. Erickson have agreed to make themselves available for further questioning if necessary. A search of Miss Gaina's dressing room confirmed Mr. Sanson's claim that Miss Gaina's trunk was gone. Examination of the dressing room did not discover any personal effects belonging to Miss Gaina, purse, coat, etc. Interesting. Okay. Having reviewed the evidence in this case at great length, it is the conclusion of this office that Miss Victoria Gaina, 23 of Manhattan, alias Viola Vein, should no longer be considered a missing person. A few final details support this conclusion. Having conducted further interviews with persons of interest, it seems evident that Miss Gaina was suffering from long-standing emotional distress. Her dissatisfaction with her career and anxiety about her fame were exacerbated by the altercation with her mother that occurred that evening. It is clear she had left to get away from an unhappy family environment. This appears to be consistent with Miss Gaina's prior history, particularly her recent 4-month absence, suggesting her present so-called disappearance represents a pattern of behavior, not an unusual occurrence. Despite her disturbed state of mind on the evening of November 6th, it does not seem likely that Miss Gaina intended to harm herself, and most likely a death by suicide or accident had occurred, would have been discovered by this time. You think? No unidentified remains matching Miss Gaina's description have been recovered because it was in the attic in her trunk. No signs of foul play were evident, either at the Cadence Theater or elsewhere. Therefore, it is the conclusion of this office that Miss Gaina left her of her own free will, which as an adult she is within her rights to do so. This case is considered closed. Are you kidding me? They're like, oh, she just ran away. It's fine. She's dead in the attic the entire time. I know, Bug. Okay, so now we have some kind of document with a bunch of dates and notes. Okay, so this is the bookkeeping. Interesting. Okay. All right, baby. Why don't you come in here and lay down? Bugsy, come here. Bug. Why don't you come in here and lay down, okay? Yeah. Why don't you lay down and be quiet, okay? Yes. Oh, hi, baby. Hello. Yes. You're a good boy. You just gotta be quiet. Okay. So we have marketing. Man, some of these prices. Okay, Duo was the play that they put on before the play that they were working on. The royalties for that cost $7,693. That's a lot. I mean, that's 1934. That's like a fortune. What the crap? Okay. I'm not seeing anything that's really standing out as like noteworthy. Let's see. Everything's going to be Gak? What? Okay, like the writing in here is like really hard to make out. If you guys can see. So I may have to go online and like look at that, like what that is. And it looks down here, it says music plays on records, sell them at the door, ask Ira. I can make that out. Then it looks like here it says call bank about Mert Mag? I don't know what that is. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look up what these are. Hopefully it doesn't really factor in too much. I don't know. Okay. Send Cole another thank you, even though he wasn't that good. Interesting. Christmas season keeping everyone away, so it sounds like ticket sales were down. This looks like it says PI fees, $4.15 an hour, cover for Olga. So I'm wondering if that's like when she went missing for 4 months and they're hiring a private investigator, maybe? Okay. Like I said, I'm gonna have to look that up online because I could hardly make out some of the handwriting. Like I don't really know what it was saying. Okay, so here is a letter from Hector Roland to Olga. If you'll remember, this was her fiance. Mrs. Gaina, my apologies for canceling our meeting on such late notice. I've been more than a bit overtaxed lately, and I completely forgot about a prior engagement on Christopher Street when I agreed to discuss wedding invitations with you this afternoon. So he was having to plan the wedding with her mom? Yikes. I hope the assortment of fresh fruits and chocolates delivered by my driver, along with this note, will convey the depth of my remorse. I really am looking forward to taking up the role of your dutiful son-in-law. I'm nothing if not a talented performer, and I intend to play the part to perfection, just as soon as the union between Viola and myself is made official next year. Does anyone else find that kind of gross? I don't know. Now that the date is set in stone, I'd like to thank you for all the work you put into bringing Viola and I together. With both of our hectic schedules to account for, it's a true miracle you were able to arrange all those candlelit dinners, long walks down Fifth Avenue, and rambling countryside drives, not to mention all the effort you've already begun to put into planning the wedding itself. Who knew that one could order silver bells to affix to doves' feet like that? The effect when they fly up into the rafters as we kiss is going to be breathtaking. My publicity team looks downright lazy in comparison to you. All they've ever had to do is tell the press where to point their cameras. Okay, so Olga was like arranging this entire relationship then. So did Viola even like him? Like obviously he was like keen on her, but like since she ended the relationship, like did she just like finally have enough? Like this feels icky. Anyone else think like I feel like this is icky. Speaking of news hawks, I hope you're finding yourself as gratified by the glowing press coverage as I've been. It's been tiring, to say the least, to be constantly referred to as the Broadway Bachelor in the papers, as though my private life is more worthy of note than my career. What a relief it will be once I've settled down and there's no more delightful a girl to settle down with than your daughter. An admirable scene partner who I'm sure will be equally as pleasant a partner in life. If Viola and I were able to keep the press's interest in our next production too, we stand a real chance of becoming the next Pickford and Fairbanks. With fewer public scandals, of course. Just imagine Viola and I cast opposite one another on stage and screen through the decades, our names up in light, one right next to the other. It's everything I've wanted in a career. I'm sure she feels the same. Obviously, she didn't. You're kind of gross, Hector. That's just, ugh, that whole thing just gave me icky vibes, you know? I can't make out the name on this letter. And I need a drink. Okay. So the name is weird. It's like Wziormt. Ziormont? I don't know. I'm taking precautions in case Nigzani? I don't know. Finds this letter, which is why a few phrases might seem a bit backwards to you. So, okay, some of these might be INSGEN. What is that? 4 words. Insign? I don't know. Okay, they said there was a coded letter. This is obviously a coded letter. Okay. If you find yourself at a loss, ask to the gift. Okay, so some of this might be a bit backwards to you. If you find yourself at a loss, ask to the gift of embroidered you for your guidance. When vanity becomes elegance, the truth can emerge. What? This may also be something I have to look up online because this is like all kinds of nuts. This was in 1934, so this is like a year before her murder. The walls in the Cadence tend to have ears, so I don't feel secure asking you this in person, but I was wondering if someone has said anything to you about me lately. She pulled me aside earlier today and told me in no uncertain terms that she wished I had a bunch of backwards writing. I asked her what she meant, but she just said that I should be ashamed of myself and stormed away. I genuinely have no idea what any of that was about. Have I done something to offend her? Is it the stress of her pregnancy making itself manifest? Who's pregnant? This is the worst possible time for me to have made an enemy. It's simply too much. With the show, the press, and the wedding to contend with. Okay, so this is obviously Hector. So was Viola Vein pregnant then? I barely have any time to breathe. I can count on one hand the number of times I felt neither hungry nor tired nor miserable over the past few months and during backwards writing that I can't make out. There's no sign of any real reprieve on the horizon, though. Again, backwards writing has my life planned down to the matching outfits I'm wearing with more backwards writing. To our hypothetical more backwards writing in 38, it's a selfish thing to complain about. I know. But I can't stop thinking about what you said the other day about being able to step back and see the big picture. It made me realize that I've spent my entire life like a carriage horse fitted with blinders. I've never seen anything but the path I am being driven down. I can't go on like this forever. More backwards writing that I can't make out. Thank you for being such a good confidant over these past few months. You've made me realize how good it can feel to more backwards writing every now and again. I've asked someone to go over somewhere with someone at 6 o'clock tomorrow. We can backwards writing, and then it's closed out in backwards writing. Hello, Courtney. So, yeah, I don't know what that's about, but obviously someone was pregnant and someone's trying to meet up with someone on the sly. I don't know. Whoo! Okay, I'm gonna have to go online because like I could barely make out some of the words anyway, and then the backwards writing was like really hard to figure out. So we're gonna have to decode that with like a little guidance. Okay, we have a delivery note from Paladin Protective Services to Joe Sampson, a Sentinel lockbox. Customer will install is what it says. And then on the back, there's some coding. I wonder if that has anything to do with the note. Oh, thank you. No, this is the Hunt a Killer box. It's like a murder mystery, and like every month they send you a box, and you have to like you have like a objective that you're trying to solve. The last box we figured out the murder weapon. This box we're trying to rule out a murderer. Because there's several people that were like there the day that she disappeared. But I don't know what this backwards written letter, coded letter is supposed to mean. Interesting. Okay, nothing strange in her success. Understudy shines in spotlight by Kitty Parker. I love this face on the back though. Okay, it should come as no surprise to those in the know that this season's hit, The Strange Duo, has been the topic of constant conversation in Manhattan theater circles. From the irresistible romance of its two leads to its universal critical acclaim, Simon Nelson's comic saga of star-crossed love has been the talk of the town since its debut last September. When it was announced last month that the show's leading lady, Miss Viola Vein, would be leaving the cast, fans and critics alike expressed concern that her absence would be a loss from which the production could not possibly recover. As Roderick Bentley put in his column the week her departure was announced, one feels sinkingly certain that Strange Duo, despite its obvious merits, will not survive without Miss Vane's wit and charm to give it life. However, the delight of the theater aficionados everywhere, Miss Vane's replacement has proven herself more than capable, winning rave reviews for her star turn. Who is this rising star bold enough to attempt to take Viola Vane's place? Evelyn Kittredge. Evelyn Kittredge may not yet be a household name, but she will certainly be before long. We predict that Duo will do for Miss Kittredge's career what Girl Crazy did a few years ago for one Ginger Rogers. There are certainly great things in store for Miss Kittredge, who has gone from Miss Vane's understudy to a star in her own right. One might expect an actress in Miss Kittredge's position to simply retread the steps of her predecessor, but reviewers have remarked upon the refreshing vivacity of this young thespian has brought to the part of Florinda, the naive young flower seller turned high society dame. In words of the Gazette's drama critic Avery Martindale, her performance is full of fire and music, a revelatory interpretation of an already iconic role. Miss Kittredge is self-effacing on the subject of her recent success. Every night I think I can't possibly live up to her performance, she demurs when asked how she has managed to fill Miss Vane's shoes. I expect I shall always be standing in her shadow, and rightly so. Others, however, are not so restrained in their estimation. The show's director, Ira Adler, shares none of his new star's modesty. Remember, he and Evelyn were hooking up. Oh, I wonder if Evelyn got pregnant. I don't know. Someone was pregnant in the 1930s. Evelyn has extraordinary talent, he refuses. Don't get me wrong, Viola deserves every bit of praise she has received. But mark my words, Evelyn Kittredge is one to watch. When asked what we can expect to see Miss Kittredge next, Mr. Adler was overflowing with enthusiasm for future collaboration. I've got an ambition to write something for her myself, he admits. A musical, maybe. I've always fancied myself as a bit of a songwriter, and she has the sweetest voice you've ever heard. I bet she does. I bet she does. I don't like him. Can I just say he's a murderer? Sweet is certainly the word for this accomplished pair whose mutual admiration and delight in one another's company is evident. They will surely make a name for themselves in whatever future ventures they undertake together, professional or otherwise. For now, however, Miss Kittredge's growing crowd of admirers will have to content themselves with seeing her on stage in The Strange Duo, which will continue its engagement at the Cadence Theater through the end of October. What's on the back? Okay. Okay, well, it does mention George Erickson, so maybe we should read this too. What future for a floundering industry? How is Broadway to contend with Hollywood? There is no denying that the lights of 42nd Street have dimmed somewhat of late. Despite their glitz and glamour, the denizens of the Great White Way are just as susceptible to economic hardship as the rest of the great nation. This was like on the cusp of like the Great Depression, wasn't it? Right? Like 1934? And like millions of other industries across the country, Broadway is struggling. As audiences have doubtless noticed, countless stage theaters and vaudeville music halls have closed across the city in recent years. Those venues that remain open have been forced to reduce ticket prices significantly, some charging as little as 25 cents for admission. Whether they are established stars or chorus girls, stage managers or scenic designers, workers all across the industry have felt the strain of these difficult times. Many have made admirable efforts to assist those most affected through charitable endeavors. Noted playwright Rachel Crothers has done much to lift up destitute performers through her Stage Relief Fund and other initiatives. The actress Serona Royal began her Actors Dinner Club to offer free meals and employment for out-of-work actors. Even so, these generous efforts alone will not be sufficient to stem the flow of talent from theater industry. The arrival of sound in movie pictures, whoa, now means there is little film cannot accomplish that the stage can. That's nuts. I didn't even think about that. So, like, they had like movies, but they were soundless. So if you actually wanted to hear someone perform, you had to go to plays back then. But then movies started making sound available. So it was like, well, there goes Broadway. That's crazy. I never stopped to think about that. It was a different time, man. It was a different time. Oh, it's a lot of reading. Okay. Where was I? I lost it now. At least in the opinion of some commentators, and its novelty has made talking pictures as enticing an artistic challenge for many performers as it is an intriguing experience for audiences. Furthermore, with the promise of steady movie studio contract work on the West Coast, it's no wonder that so many stalwart stage performers have set off for California's promised land. How can Broadway compete with Hollywood when such luminaries as Fred Astaire flee the stage for the silver screen? Some, like producer and theater owner George Erickson, that's our theater's owner, say the only way forward is for productions to go bigger than ever. The solution isn't handouts from rich actresses or dreary dramas about domestic issues, he insisted. The public wants fantasy, something that will take their minds off their troubles for a little while. If Broadway wants to survive, we got to compete with the pictures, and that means rallying all the glamour and spectacle we can muster. Others, like avant-garde playwright Conrad Wegner, argue that Broadway must distinguish itself in pictures by facing head-on the problems of the nation. We have responsibility as artists to tell stories that address the common man's struggle, he said. The pictures will never take real issues seriously, but the stage can, and indeed must. Though there may be a difference of opinion regarding the ideal approach, there can be no doubt that many in the business are dedicated to ensuring the future of the Broadway stage. Whatever form that may ultimately take, there are plenty of talented performers and even more devoted theater fans who look eagerly forward to the day when Broadway's lights shine on their brightest once more. Okay. Well, that didn't really help much. But that's everything that was in the thing. So now we just got to review the facts. So she went missing for like 4 months, and someone was preggers, according to this coded letter that we can't really uncode. So I'm wondering if maybe she had an affair or something and was pregnant and disappeared for 4 months to have the baby. That was a thing that people did back then, right? All right, Bug. Just because the heathen dogs next door are barking doesn't mean that you need to bark. No, we're classier than that. Have some class. Don't be an ass. Hey, lay down. Lay down. Sorry. Dog things. But what we have to do is rule out who would have killed her. That's what we're supposed to be doing. So, I think the director's a little suspicious. I think her ex-fiance and her mom are both a little suspicious. I'm wondering if the stage manager, the one who left to get her flowers. But then again, like if he came back, what if he killed her then? I don't know. It also seems a little odd that he was like, oh, her mom yelled at her and she's having a bad day. I'm going to go get her flowers from her favorite flower shop. And then it took him an hour to get the flowers. I don't know. I'm rereading some stuff to see if there's like something that might clue us in. Okay, so the theater owner left before Mr. Sampson returned, and he also kind of left about the same time that Evelyn left her room. So I'm thinking we could probably rule him out. And maybe Miss Evelyn Kittredge. Because he said he saw Evelyn leaving her dressing room. Remember, that's where she got killed. And she seemed to be in a stress and left in quite a hurry. So maybe she did. Well, I don't know, though. Because, like, whoever killed her, okay, stuffed her in a trunk, used the elevator to take it up to the prop room. But that means that whoever did it had to have A, been strong enough to strike her in the head with a cane and kill her, and also to lift her body up, put it into a trunk, and like drag the trunk. So it had to be a man. It had to be a man that killed her, right? I'm right. I gotta be all right about that. So I don't think Evelyn did it, but it does seem a little suspicious that she like left her room distressed and in quite a hurry when she was there comforting Viola. You know what I mean? Like, why was she distressed? But I think the objective here was to rule out someone who definitely could not have been the murderer. And I think that's George Erickson because he left before the other dude that left to get her flowers came back. So that dude is suspicious. Evelyn seems a little suspicious. Like maybe what if Evelyn killed her and then someone else? Yes, yes. Oh, we just like hit on the same thing. What if she killed her and then either this Joseph Sampson dude or Ira, the director, who was on hold for an hour and 15 minutes over a dinner reservation the entire time she was being murdered and her body was being hidden. Because he said he was on the phone and he heard the service elevator going off and he thought that was weird because like no one ever uses the service elevator. But I think it's weird that he was on the phone for an hour and 15 minutes over a dinner reservation. So interesting. Okay. So I think the objective here was to figure out who didn't do it. And I think George Erickson, the theater owner, is the one that we're going to say definitely didn't do it. So there's that solved. But like, there's so many possible whodunits. And I'm going to have to, like I said, I'll have to go online after the live and figure out what this is saying and what this like coded letter is saying because I can't really make out the handwriting. If you guys can see, like it's really, really tightly written cursive and like most of it's backwards or coded or whatever. So like I can't even make out what the code is supposed to be. So I'm going to do that in my free time, and then on the next box I'll fill you guys in on what I figured out there. But I think for the purpose of this box we were ruling out someone from the murder, and that is George Erickson, the theater owner. Everyone else is still suspicious as hell though. Like, okay, well, this has been fun. Thank you everyone who joined, everyone who watches this later. I hope you enjoy me rambling on for an hour about a murder. And we'll do this again next month. Now, fun fact, I did already contact Hunt a Killer about this to make sure that I can do it. So after we finish this mystery, I'm actually going to cancel it and then go back in on the horror boxes, and we're going to do a gruesome spooky ooky box. I think the first one in that lineup is about the Blair Witch. I don't know about you guys, but when the Blair Witch Project movie came out, I was all about it. It was so creepy. So Little Miss Courtney, I know you like the spooky Yuki, so yeah, we're gonna be doing that after we finish this. But this is the second box, so we have 4 more boxes of this, and then we will start the Blair Witch box, which I'm very, very excited about. Like, I was very, very into that little. You remember the scene when she's like right up in the like snot's coming out of her nose? She's like, I'm so scared. Oh, love it, love it. So that was this, and hell's yeah, Blair Witch, so spooky. I love it. All right. Thank you for joining, and I'm going to end this live. I will try and decode that and fill you guys in on what that was all about, because someone was pregnant and someone was planning something, and like there was just a whole lot going on, but I don't know what was going on. So we're going to figure that out, because I feel like that's probably going to tie into the story here quite a bit. And I do think, because it says someone was pregnant and they were like stressing and stuff about like what was going on with the pregnancy. So we know someone was pregnant. We know that the chick that got murdered disappeared for 4 months, and it was not uncommon for someone who had an out of wedlock baby back in the 1930s to go somewhere and discreetly get rid of their child. So I'm wondering if that's what was going on. It'll be interesting. So thank you, and I will see you guys next month. Mwah! Well, I mean, I'll probably do a live before then, but you know what I mean. This particular thing, I'll see you guys next month, and stay tuned for other lives. I have a video coming up Monday. Love you. Bye.